Welcome to Jobbed Out, the wrestling editorial that reminds you that maybe this man should consider a new plan.
I'm a man with a plan.
I want to preface this by saying, I don't want to make a video like this today. Not unlike the Jack Gallagher video back in 2020, I gotta talk about a wrestler I genuinely really liked, having done something really awful. And we're not talking about Shane McMahon getting himself basically kicked out of the WWE. We're talking about a cruiserweight legend. One of the few reasons why 205 Live was watchable, and somebody that I had been a personal fan of since 2002. Today, we gotta talk about the Brian Kendrick. Kendrick, known in and out of the WWE both by his real name as well as the threatening superstar title of Spanky, has had a hell of a career. From being a product of Shawn Michaels' wrestling school, to streaking and doing comedy skits on SmackDown, to even becoming a phantom WWE champion that one time. Kendrick has had a career resurgence in the mid-2010s thanks to the Cruiserweight Classic and the formation of the new WWE Cruiserweight division, which, well, no longer exists. When NXT changed in late 2021, Kendrick, at the time a coach for the developmental brand, made his exit. He was granted his WWE release on January 31st, 2022. On February 1st, 2022, it was announced that Brian Kendrick would be making his AEW Dynamite debut on February 2nd against another, more recognized former WWE champion. And half an hour before the show, he was pulled.
Hey, what happened?
We all know how the internet works these days. If you've ever been under a spotlight and you've ever said or done something regrettable, it will come back to bite you. In this case, what bit Kendrick is an old project he had worked on with Andrew Lutsky. Basically, the project was a conspiracy theorist DVD, to which some of the greatest hits Kendrick had offered here include the idea that the Illuminati destroyed the World Trade Towers during 9/11, that the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting was a black flag operation to force a civil war, and of course the worst one, that the Holocaust was overblown, that gas chambers didn't kill anybody, and that the Allies had made up places like Auschwitz to help justify the creation of Israel.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Where the hell do I start? Suffice to say, this didn't sit well with AEW, the company that itself has had some back and forth press when it comes to race inclusivity. Something I opted not to talk about the first time around, because it's hard to say AEW doesn't showcase minorities when you factor how many black performers, Asian performers, and Hispanic performers they feature every single week. Tony Khan promptly pulled Kendrick from his own debut and replaced him with Wheeler Yuta. Officially, AEW intends to investigate the matter like they had done with Jimmy Havoc. From there, they'll decide whether to hire him or book him again. While I know this is going to come down to, what about freedom of speech? Which is always the argument coming from people who have no idea what freedom of speech means, the truth here is that yeah, he does have the right to say whatever the hell he wants. With that though, he absolutely is not free of consequences for saying whatever the hell he wants. So people can cry cancel culture all they want, but no private employer owes the man a job if he says or does something that would represent the company badly. No tinfoil hatters, he's not just asking questions. He's parroting the same things that Nazis and neo-Nazis used to say in defense of indefensible actions during World War II, to invalidate the death and suffering of millions. I've seen comparisons to the whole Whoopi Goldberg thing, who is also on a worldwide shit list this week for similar reasons. Though her comments were made in the last week as opposed to a decade ago, and her position was that the actions of the Nazis weren't race motivated, which, while I understand she means skin color motivated, it's hard to say the Holocaust wasn't a race thing when the Nazis literally called themselves the master race and literally called Jews an inferior race. Back to Brian Kendrick though, like I said, I don't want to hate this guy. I think the things he said were completely the shittiest things he could say while appearing to be an authority on a subject he has no authority on. Now, whether or not he'll ever be welcomed in the eyes of pro wrestling fans again falls on two things: what Kendrick says about this matter and what Kendrick does about this matter. Brian Kendrick cannot undo what he said 9 years ago. We've all said and done stupid things 9 years ago. But how he as an adult responds shows whether or not he truly believed those things, or if this was just a bad take at a bad time when he was going through his drug addiction years. While I was putting this together, Brian actually did put an apology out on Twitter. I apologize for all the hurt and embarrassment I've caused with my words. These are not my beliefs, and never were beliefs of mine, and I crossed the line. I spread the most vile comments without thinking of the damage it would cause. I will live with this regret for the rest of my life. I am truly sorry for the pain I have caused. Okay, so that's the first part covered. So what matters now is what Brian Kendrick does to show whether he has grown since those weird-ass comments on that DVD. He could do as Hulk Hogan and Joey Ryan did, call himself a victim, throw blame anywhere else, and try to bury everything while pretending that he never did anything wrong. He could also be like Lars Sullivan and Jack Gallagher, who did make a point to apologize to the people he hurt and respectfully bow out in hopes that maybe one day they'll open the door for him again. Or he could be like Rhea Ripley, who not only apologized for the dumb actions of her past, but actively went out to make the world better to make up for her mistakes. In Rhea's case, by regularly raising awareness and donating to LGBTQ charities after her homophobic slur caused a scene online. Personally, I hope Brian Kendrick goes this route, because as a wrestling fan, I liked Spanky. I marked out for the man with the plan. I rooted for him during his comeback. I even sat through the Sun Tzu's Art of War days in Impact. But if he's just apologizing for getting caught and still thinks that the Holocaust was a lie perpetrated to form a sovereign nation, then there's no way I can cheer for this guy again. There's no way I can continue to be his fan, and I know I'm not alone in this. It's been his moniker for over a decade, but never has he ever needed to be the man with a plan as he does right now. With that said, this is all just my opinion, and I do want to know what you think about this Brian Kendrick controversy. Were you a fan of his over the years? And whether you support his theories or not, do you think AEW was right to pull his booking after his past comments came to light? Or do you think this was a decade ago and people need to lighten up about things that far in the past? If that's the case, then how long is long enough for you? Let me know what you think in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to the channel for more, because I want you to be a part of this conversation too. For now though, I better get my shoulders off the mat, so thank you for tuning in to Jobbed Out. I'll catch you next time.